Good evening, guys. This is Market Matters. I'm Charlotte Chong, joined by Khoo, Chuang. Today, we saw a slew of negative news in the Malaysian market. Firstly, Edelman Trust barometer shows trust in government drop, while in media it rose. But I think because of a lot of influence coming from social media like Facebook and Twitter. And secondly, 1MDB final report delayed to first week of March. Fitch also affirmed Malaysia's sovereign rating at A negative with negative outlooks. Now let's look at KLCI. KLCI down 13 points or 0.8% to 1,664 points. Advances, Tune Protection, Top Glove, Kialim, decliners Genting Malaysia, SK Petrol and Evergreen.
Yeah, volume was 1.5 billion shares, value 1.5 billion ringgit. The ringgit is a 4-week low, closed the day I think 4.22. Of course, oil prices were declined because of the Saudi oil ministers, Nami Al-Almi, saying that a production freeze for January does not predicate a production cut.
And also, I think Iran, they welcome the sanction, they welcome the talks between Russia and also Saudi Arabia on oil freeze, but they didn't actually say that they will cut oil outputs.
There's no reason why they should. They're trying to return to the oil markets and they want to get back the market share they lost before sanctions. So they'll say politically correct things, but they're not going to cut. They're not going to say, "I'll play ball with you." So that that sends oil prices down.
Now, oil prices was at 32 US dollars a barrel. Now, let's look at Asian shares. Asian shares actually down again as the recovery of oil prices lost momentum. Nikkei 225 down 136 points or 0.9% to 15,000 points. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index down 222 points or 1.15% to 19,000 points today.
Yeah, Charlotte, some good news for the ringgit because according to CIMB, they think that the Federal Reserve won't raise interest rates anymore this year, and that's going to be good news for the ringgit. So they actually reckon that the ringgit will stabilize its decline by the end of the year, and they actually reckon that the ringgit range will be 425 to 435 against the dollar by the end of the year. But interestingly, it also leaves room for the central bank to cut interest rates by 50 basis points because they expect that the second half growth-wise will be very weak for the country, along with the rest of the world.
And also, I think the reason why a lot of analysts think that Fed Reserve won't increase rates this year because of the emerging markets, and also they think that US market are probably not prepared for a lot of hikes today. Now let's move along to our hot stock of the day. Today we have RGB International Berhad. They are Penang-based. They do sales and marketing from where you are from, and manufacturing of electronic gaming machines and equipment, machines concession programs, and technical support management in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, they supply the big gaming operators in the region, and of course they closed the day higher by 3% to 17 cents. They had an intraday high of 17.5 cents, quite heavily traded, nearly 14 million shares of volume. Now, of course, the reason because they were in play because yesterday they reported earnings, and they had slightly higher revenue at 233 million ringgit for the year. They had slightly higher after-tax profit for the year of 21 million ringgit. And they said that basically due to a favorable foreign exchange translation, as well as selling over 1,000 gaming machines in 2015.
Of course, it's one of the most active counters traded in Bursa Malaysia today, and it says it expects to achieve better performance this year. Group MD Chua Kim Se actually said that the group has sold over 1,000 gaming machines in 2015 with a value of more than 100 million ringgit, which is much more higher than it first estimated. Now, this means that the contribution from the sales of gaming machines generate 40% to 50% of the group's 2015 revenue, compared with less than 10% in 2014.
That's right. And of course, they would make a big deal of exports because anything dollar denominated is going to make you money. So they said that exports is 99% of revenue in 2014, with the Philippines nearly 80% of sales. And of course, we know that Philippines has lots of casinos. You can go there and you can spend all your savings on your gaming machine. So other markets include Cambodia. Of course, Cambodia on the border there are tons of casinos. Tan Sri Chen Lip Kyong with his company, they're also very much involved. Laos, Macau, Vietnam. So lots of stuff around the region, not just because Malaysia, there's only one casino, which is in Genting.
Genting, yeah. So UOB Kay actually came out with a report a couple of days ago. It says, given a strong financial strength, UOB Kay actually expects RGB to implement a much more progressive dividend policy from 2016 onwards. So hopefully these will attract shareholders' attention and probably buy more shares in this company. And the report also say that RGB is still keen to buy a 30% stake in Timor Holdings, operates amusement and electronic gaming machines. Shelved those plans last July, but yeah.
Of course, We also see these results come out at the time when Genting Malaysia is saying they're going to spend 10 billion ringgit on the integrated tourism project. We'll talk more about that later, but obviously very good news for RGB.
So earnings actually up 42.3% to 4.3 million ringgit, revenue up 15% to 64.7 million ringgit. Let's wrap up. RGB International went up an intraday high of 17.5 cents on better results, which they actually said it yesterday, due to favourable impact from foreign exchange rates. UOB Kay Hian expects RGB to implement a much more progressive policy from 2016 onwards.